to the field and
It's always good to hear. I couldn't be, more blessed to have a good room. Different personalities, but all hardworking young men that do anything I ask them to do, and I think they're doing well on the football field.
Well, Coach, you do have an exciting room in more ways than one. On and off the field, they're usually guys that do what they're supposed to. For the most part, they're high energy guys. They're passionate guys, and you can see the bond, Coach. And it didn't take long for you to create, that trust in the room between coach and player the coach. And I think when I sit back and observe that as the head coach, I sit back and I can see the branches of that tree just sprouting. And what's happening with those guys is that we're able to see a product being developed each and every day. And again, thank you for being passionate about the safeties that you have in your room, because we know the best is yet to come. Well, Coach, we're going to get right into football.
Sir.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what did the segment improve on this spring?
Okay, Coach. I think that the safeties, they improved on a multitude of important aspects this spring. I took some time prior to spring ball and got a chance to watch game film as well as practice film from last season. And one of the things that I would say, it kind of looked straight at me was the vertical running routes and how much separation the safeties had. So that was one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we tackle, make sure that we pay close attention to, and try to develop a little muscle memory. Because one of the techniques that we used was one of a hinge tempo technique, and what we wanted to do with that is make sure that those guys would be able to trust their speed, and at the same time be able to keep a good relationship with the number 2 receiver. So
what it is that you're explaining throughout that.
So what we would like to do, and especially when we're talking about palms coverage, our safeties are reading number 2. So we will have our free safety, our Sam to the field, they're both reading number 2. So I want their footwork to match the footwork of those receivers. So inch steps, and what that's going to allow for you to do is to confirm what the receiver route was going to be. So if it's a vertical route, now I want a hinge, which is going to put me in a position to not allow for the number 2 receiver to cross my face, but it's going to also put me in a position where my feet won't get tangled over. I'm not doing any crossover runs. And yes.
Coach, what you think about some of tell us about how your depth chart shook out coming out of spring ball.
Well, we kind of kept the depth chart the same for the vast majority of the spring, but some guys toward the end, they consistently showed that they were earning more and more playing time. So we made the switch toward the last week and a half of spring. So as of now, what we're looking like at the Sam position, Jacoby Papillon, he's going to be the starter at the Sam. Behind him, Huff will be the number 2 at that position, and the number 3 will be Keyshawn. At the free safety position, Chase will be the starter. KC will be the number 2, and the number 3 at that position will be Julian Charles. And at the rover, BJ will be the starter. Cardell will be the number 2, and Jacoby Jones will be the number 3.
Coach, you got a lot of depth in that room, a lot of great players, a lot of good players destined to become great players, a hard-working group. Depth chart is shaking out. Also, we got some guys that were injured this spring, and that's Montavious Gaines is another guy that we're excited about getting back for his senior year. He's been a captain for us, been a leader for us, and just with him being down, some other guys were able to step up and get a lot of reps, and that's BJ and Cordell Caldwell. So it's good to see those young guys step in and step up, and it'll be a battle with that free safety position once we get into fall camp. Look like Chase nudged out Casey coming out of spring ball, but we know Casey's going to work hard. Julian Charles is a guy that's moving up the depth chart, so look like we're getting athletic there, getting a little bigger there, and the sky's the limit about how great those guys are going to be. At Sam's, Pap's been a steady performer. And it's just great to see those guys continue to get better. Look like Huff is returning back to his old self. Old faithful, old reliable, seem to just be in the right place at the right time. Keyshawn had some ups and downs. Looked like he played, at times like the Keyshawn we signed, and then at times looked like, he fell off a little bit. But to continue to battle and continue to keep getting better. It's an athletic group. It's a great room. And, Coach, you're doing an outstanding job of getting those safeties prepared to play.
And one of the things that we talk about in the safety room is the depth chart should be dynamic.
Yeah.
And the depth chart should reflect the competition that's in that room. We have a lot of guys that can play football. And I feel really comfortable with each one of those guys that I just named being the starter on that football field. So it's really going to come down to that week who's playing the best, who's gained the most confidence from the head coach, defensive coordinator, and the position coach, and who we feel is going to give us the best chance to be successful as a unit.
Well, Coach, thank you. I think you hit the nail on the head in that room, Coach. And it's going to continue to get better. There you go. You heard it from Coach Cordova and explaining the depth chart of the safeties of Jaguar football. Well, Coach, we'll go into the next phase of this. Who's the most improved player this spring?
I think each and every one of those guys had a particular day that they shine and excelled. But I believe that Cardell was the one that did the most improvement from day one to, and I really was kind of skewed because I based it off of from the year past, the season that you guys had last year. But I thought he was very vocal. He made some game-changing plays, had a number of picks, and he was always in the top 2 as far as grading out. And that was something that was expected of him, to be graded high. But the playmaking ability and triggering in the run game and run support was the thing that really surprised me with him. And that's why I thought Cardell would be the perfect person for the most improved player this spring.
Cordell Caldwell, one of the few guys on our football team that use 10-letter words. I tell you, it's just great to see him be great on and off the field, a lawyer destined to be. He comes to campus with the right attitude when it comes to football and when it comes to academics. He's what our program is all about. Another high performer, high achiever in the classroom, and also getting it done on the field. Congratulations, Cordell, for your improvement of Southern University safety play this spring. Coach, what you think is one of the biggest surprises, or who stood out? You looked at this position, you came in, you was new. Who'd you look at and say, wow, didn't expect that from him?
Well, because Julian Charles didn't play last year, didn't have any film to go on and watch. All I could watch was his film from high school, and you can tell from high school he was a really good football player. But to see what he can do both in the run game and passing game, and what his measurements provided, he's what you're looking for at the safety position as far as his size and his ability, his physical capabilities. And one of the things that I didn't always take in consideration, because I didn't want to use it as a crutch for him, he didn't actually play last year, so he didn't get the same amount of time in the playbook as a lot of other guys that actually were getting play time in front of him. So with that being said, I thought Junior did a good job. Every day he approached the day, and he tried to get better each and every day, but every day was a brand new install for Junior. And I think, I think next year when we get into fall camp, it's going to be a little easier for him. I think he'll be able to continue to do what he needs to do to climb up the ladder on the depth chart. Other person I thought was a surprise, a pleasant surprise, was Brian Jordan. Brian was eager and ambitious. He was pretty much the sixth Sam starting out spring ball, but he was always the first player in meetings, was extremely attentive and made plays when his number was called. I'm looking forward to the summer, not just for those two guys, but for the entire unit, for the entire segment, so we can get better and continue to make progress.
I tell you, Julian Charles is a talented individual. He makes plays all over the field. He's rangy. He's a violent hitter, and he has great ball skills, and the sky's the limit. You're right. He's a surprise. We knew what his ability was. We got a chance to watch him make some plays on scout team. But then we had to put the playbook in front of him. Got a chance to learn the playbook, got better each and every practice, and the sky's the limit. And hopefully he's available to be able to help us going into the summer and into fall. because he's a player that I really think could continue to move up the depth chart and really continue to be a surprise for the Jags going forward in 2019. Coach, you look at those things and you say, okay, who's a surprise? But you done talk about your most improved player. But Coach, tell us about some things that you want these guys to be able to work on this offseason.
Well, one of the things that we talk about in the room is that we want to lead the nation in pass efficiency. We want to also lead the nation in interceptions. And a couple of things that we have to do is we have to really hone in on our ball skills. Actually taking great angles to the ball, tracking the ball, and high pointing the ball. And when we go up at the point of attack, going up with the mindset, it's our ball. The ball is in the air, go up, and make the play. Don't wait for the ball, go up and catch it at its highest point. We also have to work on our man coveraging techniques. We have to make sure that we're honing in on those particular deals. Understanding leverage, understanding where our help is coming from, understanding down and distance, where we need to be as far as our alignment needs to be. And last but not least, tracking and open field tackling is something that we really have to get better this offseason at. I think we're going to continue to, improve on tracking the near hip, understanding where our help is in situations like a vice tackle situation, where you have a post tackler and a close the gate defender, or when you're using the sideline as your friend, when you're just in a situation where you're going to have to be a solo tackler. So we'll work on those three things, and we worked on those things in the spring, but obviously in the summertime we're going to have a little more time to be able to get a little more detail, because we're not worrying about going to a team period. We can kind of hone in on some small, minute things that's going to take us to the next level. And the great part of that, in my opinion, is the willingness by the young men. They want to get better. So with that being said, I'm eager, and I'm sure they are, and I can't wait to get those guys back in the office and being able to work with them and talk ball with them and see how they enjoyed their spring break and things of that nature. So for me, it was a great spring. My first spring, obviously, with the Jaguars, and remember you guys told me on the interview about that room, but you guys, kind of didn't say how good of people they are, and that was the thing that really resonated throughout the spring. Everyone that asked me questions, that's the first thing that I mentioned, is how good people we have on this football team, and can't take that for granted.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you being a part of our program, and you got a chance to listen to them and hear the off-season outlook for our Jag safeties for the summer. Coach talked about ball skills, talked about man coverage tools, and talked about tracking the open field tackling. But the good thing is about that we got a little summer coming up, and what we've been doing is been able to spend time and talk to our coaches about just recapping spring 2019 and just seeing where we are as a football team. And we had a chance to really highlight some of the goods and also some of the lows that we've had this season when we talk about spring football. But overall, Coach, I think it's a group of guys that you hit the nail on the head. They're eager to work. They want to be good at what they're doing. They're going to put the time in. They're probably one of the better groups when you're talking about come get extra time at watching film. These guys are dedicated. And you also got some seniors in that room that want to win. And it's our job as coaches to put them in position. But they also know it's also their responsibility once they're in position to make a play. So, coaches, we look forward to continue the development and continue to see your coaching tree grow, because these guys are very good and loyal football players, and they're loyal to this program. And I like your patience, I like your demeanor, because I think it's something different than what they may have been accustomed to. But it's always great to see new coaches come in, and the goal of Southern University football continue, and the mission is something that we're continuing to track. And Coach, we thank you for being a part of it.
And I also want to leave you guys with giving a shout out to one of my players, Julio Gaines, for helping out this spring. You said, Coach, he was injured, and he went beyond the call of duty to be an assistant coach or a graduate assistant, but he went beyond the call of duty, and it would have been difficult to do it without him this spring. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Julio Gaines.
Well, Coach, you heard it on this thing. Do a little